Hello, this is a little bit of a miscellaneous hodgepodge video, which won't be that long. Just trying to show you some of the other things that are left in my art archive. And these are some of my wild icon images. They were actually a lot bigger than this, but they actually got sold or they've become damaged in transit and the places that I have lived in. So yes, they were called wild icons, and I did an exhibition with some of these called the Eloquent Curve in association with my friend Jill Smith. Right. So this is the one I was most happy with because I liked the colours. I hope you're going to be able to see these. We'll do the distant viewing and then we'll do the close-up viewing. So the point of these is totally different, and this was I think this was it's been about A1 size, the original of this, so it's a lot bigger. This is just a copy of a photograph, and the point of these was just a playfulness actually of just working with line and colour in a totally different way. And from this I went on to doing my very big paintings, which you have seen a few of in my painting tour. You can see how I went from this. This is done in watercolour crayon, a Caran d'Ache watercolour crayon. And as I say, they were a lot bigger than this. So I was having fun with being free with line and just seeing if I could evolve a different way of working. Because as you know, my work had become very tight and graphic, and I was explaining with the Wild Spirit deck and the other illustrations that I did. They've been very detailed and very tight and very small. And I just thought, what if we just kind of let the pencil go for a walk and try and express something about the interconnectedness of beings, so everything kind of flows into everything else. The person is sort of anonymous. It's just part of the landscape, and there's always members of our creature kin, and they're all kind of blending together, and I like the idea of them sort of doing this wild dance of being. So I'm very pleased with the crow shape up there. So everything is moving, everything is flowing, it's all fluid. But I did particularly like the colours in this one. I'm not going to focus on them too long because there's not that much to say about them, and they're not that big, so we can't see the whole thing. This one there was a magazine called Sage Woman, and I had a pendant from there, and that was their logo of this figure, which I did change, but so I did change it because the actual figure has not got two birds sort of growing out of them, so I changed it, but I used it as the basis, and I never hid that fact. I contacted Sage Woman and explained that I loved their logo and I'd used it in an image, and I had no intention of benefiting from it financially or anything else, so they were okay with that. And it was changed enough so that it was, you know, it wasn't a direct rip-off, and nor was it meant to be. It was meant to be a tribute, if anything, because I just really liked it. And I think this was the first one that I did, so it was still, compared to some of the other ones, it was still a little bit kind of tame and not kind of as free as they became, but it's very, very different to what I was doing in my illustrations for the previous 20 years. So it was nice to do, and again, this was a lot bigger. And somebody else owns this now, I think. I have not got the original of this. This one here, I have actually been playing around with, I think, because it's slightly different. You get that? It's figures. There's none of our creature kin in this one. There's some leaves, and they're kind of growing and sprouting, but they're all dancing. And one is flying. So I was just playing with shape and form and colour and pattern and movement, because I felt like things had become a little bit sort of static in my work, and it's good to shake things up a bit and see. And this really, you know, I wouldn't want to have stayed in this style, but it was a kind of a transition thing again between the illustration and the painting, because the painting, I'm just going to do a swing, bear with. If you look over there, try and avoid the rest of the room, the paintings that I described, maybe I shouldn't have done that actually, but I did. So yes, the paintings that I've shown you in the other videos, they kind of move on from this. If you look at the painting called The Last Wild Dance of Autumn, you'll really see where this progressed to. But I do like these. There's a freshness about it, and the colours are completely different to what I would normally use. I don't normally use primary colours and bold colours like that. Much more of a subtle autumnal type shades person. I'm just going to hold that back so you can see both of them. I'm not that happy with the one on the left, but the one on the right I think has got some nice... This one's got some nice bits too. I mean, the roses there are lovely, I think. But overall, I wasn't that happy with it compared to the others. But the colours are nice. The colours are very nice. This one I do like. It's nice with this because you can just pick areas and it's interesting of itself rather than having to look at the whole thing. It's kind of, they're not abstract, but you can just look at areas and not have to see the whole design. But everything is fluid, everything is moving, and it was to me quite exciting to do this because I didn't know whether I could, and I found I could, so that was nice. Here's another one, the figure. Everything's flowing into everything else. She's becoming something else. The bird is moving. Everything is moving. This one is more in my colours again, some more muted. But it was interesting to me to work with figures that weren't realistic, and just change them. In one of my videos you've actually seen the big version of this. I'm just going to hold it up there because there's another one over the other side, and you can just take segments of it and they work just as nice sort of free-form pieces without you having to actually see the whole. But I worked very quickly, and that's not how I normally work. So because I was trying to get the energy, I was trying to capture an energy, and I played lots of music and really tried to free up. And I think as an experiment they were not bad, but I wish I had some more to show you. I haven't, but that's it for that. So that was my Wild Icon series, and then I found these which are really old, but this is how I kind of started off on my artwork. I was doing portraits, and a few of them show my early obsession. From the age of 6 I was completely besotted with the Beatles. I actually wanted to be the Beatles. I mean, music was incredibly important to me, and so they became a source of my illustration. And faces were my thing. That's really what I did. So these are very, very early pieces by me, focusing on my favourite people of the time. This actually here, this isn't painted quite so, it's got something stuck to the back. This isn't painted quite so well because this is actually I had 2 gigantic wooden wardrobe doors that my dad had built in, and I painted this on one of them, and this was part of what was on the other side. So it's a kind of Beatles Yellow Submarine theme, and this was on the other side, and they kept these wardrobe doors for me for years. They're still here, but unfortunately they got moved to somewhere that had a leak, and now they're all mouldy. So they kept them for about 30 years, and now they've gone. So I took lots of photographs before they were completely destroyed. It's such a shame because my dad had kept them all that time for me, and it can't have been easy because they were blooming huge doors. Anyway, there's just a series of portraits of Brigitte Bardot. So portraits were really my thing. I always thought that I would go into that in some way, and I did try to do that because I felt like I could, but other things took over. Right, now I'm going to show you these. You're not going to recognise many people on this. This, oh, if I could get really close, I could show you. This is when my style kind of changed and I was working. This is Les Dawson. Some people will recognise him. I don't know why I decided to do a portrait of Les Dawson. I have not the faintest idea, but there he is, recognisably so. And if I could get really close, which I can't, his face is made up of tiny, tiny, tiny coloured dots of pencil. That's how I started to work. It all got very meticulous, and this is years old. There's a whole series of faces there of different people, but he's probably the one that came out best that you would recognise. And this is a bit of a contentious one because there are two. This is uncanny. You would not believe this. I must have done this in the 80s at some point. I mean, it was years ago, and there are two people on this next one who are really contentious. You couldn't make it up, actually. In fact, until I just looked at it now, I didn't know that they were both on here. Rolf Harris used to be somebody I really liked because I believed that his TV persona was the real person, which is stupid because he is an actor, really. And what he presented to us was not him. And I thought he was rather wonderful, along with lots of people. You know, he seemed funny and kind and very talented. And we didn't know, did we? We didn't know that he was what he is. We didn't know. You would not believe this. Above him, in the corner, somebody who I didn't like, who I thought had an interesting face, is Jimmy Savile. I just don't know. You just could not even make that up. It's not because I did not like Jimmy Savile. I mean, I thought he was extraordinarily creepy, but I was looking for interesting faces. There's Oliver Reed there in the background. I didn't particularly like Oliver Reed, but he had an interesting face. And then of course Rolf Harris at the front. So this is a really disturbing piece for me because it's got two people on it that, well, you can understand Jimmy Savile falling from grace because, yeah, I mean, he wasn't a very pleasant character anyway, was he? But, you know, Rolf, that was really shocking. I'm not going to get rid of this because I didn't know at the time. It was done in all innocence. It was just a study of characters, really. There's Michael Parkinson. Again, I thought he had an interesting face. And in the corner we've got Terry Wogan, but that's been a bit destroyed by time. I don't know what happened to this piece. It was huge, actually, and took me ages because, as I say, I was working in these tiny, tiny dots. But there you go. I just thought I would show you. You might recognise some of the other characters there as well. So I'd show you sort of where I started off. And it was very much with faces, and I'm actually shocked that both of them are on that one. I think we'll move away. Go back to Les Dawson. He's hopefully less contentious. Yes. So yes, there's people, and there's another John Lennon up there. Look, I've just realised. Not quite sure who is it. Is he Alf Garnett? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Is that W.C. Fields? I don't know who that chap is over there. It's Larry Grayson in the middle. Anyway, I just thought I'd show you what I used to do. It's a miscellaneous selection, and I feel quite horrified, but I'm not going to get rid of that. Anyway, there you go. That's where I began. Well, I began before that, but they're the ones that I've got left to show you, and they are photographs, and they're photographs of pieces that have disappeared. The end. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.